Can you see my screen? Yes, no? No?
Not yet, Guru.
We can see it now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start off by offering a flower at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. So everyone can close our eyes in deep meditation. Let's offer a flower at the lotus feet of our Param Shiksha Guru and seek his blessings by which we can actually enter into the mysteries of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Now we're getting beautiful gardenia flowers, so we can meditate on offering a beautiful bunch of gardenia flowers to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's go on with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vaideka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabho Kali Dvanto Ditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Aksharaya Te Sarvada Sarvasevaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute Mad Ekabandhu Mad Sangin Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Dadain Ati Nichocha Takara Hana Muncha Kadachinma Prema Rit Kantayospura Hana Muncha Kadachinma Prema Rit Kantayospura. So we are praying here, O Srimad Bhagavatam, please never leave me, and accompanied by pure love, prema, please manifest yourself in my heart and in my kantha, in my heart and my throat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudire Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridayantasta Abhadrani Vidunoti Shuritsatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay. So Hare Krishna, again, like to welcome everyone. Let's start again by a quick sharing, and let's make it really quick from the chapter 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam from your last week's reading. Any one point that stood out to you, make it really fast and just precise, right? So Ratnarayika, you have a list of devotees. So let's follow this list, and in case you're not able to read, then you can mention, and we will take you off this list. Okay, so let's start. Would you like to start? Any one quick point from chapter 4 of first canto that stood out to you?
Here in 7th verse, we read that that Parikshit Maharaj used to be there in front of the house of a grihastha for only at the time of milking. So it's very important for us to know that when a sadhu comes to our house, that if he's staying more than 30 minutes, it is causeless mercy, and take it like that.
Yes.
Otherwise they have no business with us. They can immediately abandon us.
Yeah, the only purpose that all these great devotees come to our house is for our own blessing. Thank you so much, Martin. Okay, next. Who would like to go next?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead.
Realization is more important than the parrot-like chanting, 13th verse.
Yes, wonderful. Very, very nice. Yes, Mata, you go ahead.
Yeah, I like the point that we need to, whenever we associate with sadhus, not just to visit them, we need to hear from them.
From them. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. And then now we are not going in order as such. Anyone can unmute and please share. Yes, Vijayaraj.
Yeah, I also like the point where realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. That struck me. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mata. Okay, next.
I like the point that Parikshit Maharaj, birth, death, and the entire life was very exemplary and glorious.
Asharya. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Okay, next.
The great devotees, they feel so much compassion for the fallen souls that they're always busy planning something which may help people.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so let's move on to chapter 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this chapter is chapter 4, a little bit lighter, but this chapter is it's a beautiful chapter, lot of important points, and let's see how much we can cover. And we'll try to cover the whole thing, but every purport is like so loaded with like so many points. Like Prabhupada really, takes the time to bring out the mood and mission and what Narad Muni is actually instructing on Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? The chapter title is Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. So a quick review of chapter 4 is basically where we read that how Vyasadeva, he actually saw the symptoms of the age of Kali Yuga, and how he saw that we all creatures, the creatures of Kali Yuga, are actually so dumb, short life, and he saw all these symptoms, and he was thinking of the Shreya, the benefit of all people. And considering the benefit of all people, he took that one Vedas, he divided into 4. Then he actually assigned each Veda to his different disciples, grand disciples, and in that way, he actually made sure that the knowledge would continue. Then he actually, out of his further compassion, we read this word, Kripana Vatsalaha, right? You remember Kripana Vatsalaha? So out of his deep compassion, what did Vyasa do? He actually compiled the Mahabharata, right? And then he was thinking like, oh, Mahabharata is so wonderful that it has the essence of, it has the purpose of the Vedas and also the summary of the Vedas through the presentation of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So both are there. What is the purpose of the entire Vedas and what is the summary? Both are there. And then he said like, okay, Mahabharata I've written, now it is perfect. So he did Vedas, Puranas, and then he finally compiled the Mahabharata. And even after doing everything, he was not satisfied. Na atushtya, right? So we read this word tushyanti charamanti, right? Tushyan. So he was not satisfied. And then he was actually thinking, because Vyasadeva is dharmavid or sarvavid, that this word comes even in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvavid or dharmavid is one who actually knows the essence of dharma, or sarvavid, the one who knows the Veda. So he actually divided the Veda into 4. He wrote the Purana. So for sure, he knows what is dharma. So because he is dharmavid, he is sarvavid, he actually reflected. I did everything properly. I worship the Vedas, I worship the Agni, I worship the spiritual masters. I actually did everything in disciplic succession. I did everything with disciplinary vows. Everything was perfect, but still, why am I feeling dissatisfied? And he actually gets the inspiration that maybe I have not glorified sufficiently the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? And he got a hint. And while he was contemplating in this way, then Narad Muni actually arrived on the scene. And when Narad Muni arrived on the scene, then Vyasadeva actually gave him the same respects that he would actually give to Brahmaji. And that was the point that we read, that anyone coming in the line of Parampara, we give the same respect as we would give the originator of the Sampradaya, because he is actually the representative of the Sampradaya, right? Actually, we give Sakshat Dharitena Samasta Shastra. We give the same respect as we would give to Krishna himself, because he's carrying the message of Krishna and he's a representative of Krishna. Okay, so Vyasadeva offered his respects, and now we'll start off with chapter 5. So let's start with text 1.
Sutta uvacha atatam sukamasina upasinam brihatsravaha devarshi praha viprashim vinapani smayaniva.
Okay, translation. So let's start.
Yeah. Translation, Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishis amongst the brahmanas, Vedyas.
Thank you. So Deva Rishi, right? We have heard this word before. Deva Rishi, the Rishi of all the demigods, Deva. Who is that? Narad Muni himself. And then also the other word is Veena Pani. What is Veena Pani? Narad Muni always carries, what is the instrument? A Veena, right? He comes from Veena. And the important word here is Sukham. Narad Muni smile, right? And I'm sure this has brought a thought in your mind that how in Bhagavad Gita, after Arjun actually expresses Karpanya Dosha Pahata Swabhava, Prichami Tom Dharma Samudaya. When Arjun said, okay, I accept you as my guru, please instruct me, tell me what is my duty. What did Krishna do? He smiled. Okay, so we'll discuss the smile. Someone can read that, we read the translation. Right? So what is this aspect of smile? So in the Bhagavad Gita, we read that why did Krishna smile? Because he actually knew that now Arjun has surrendered unto me, and now I'll actually get an opportunity to speak this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and enlighten me. So whenever a soul surrenders unto Krishna, Krishna is very pleased. And that's one reason that Krishna smiles, right? So now, here in this section of why Narad Muni smiled, okay? So there are different explanations given. There are 5 points we are going to discuss. One is Narad Muni knew what is the problem, and he knew what is the solution of the problem, right? And we'll read further in the next few verses that how a spiritual master, he knows everything. You know, a spiritual master knows everything. So Narad Muni knew exactly what is Vyasadev's problem, and I know the solution of the problem. So he smiled and said, okay, now the solution will be there, right? So that's the first point. Second, Chakravarti Pad explains that how Narad Muni was internally very pleased with Vyasadeva, because Vyasadeva has shown him that respect that's actually given to the original Acharya. So he knew that, okay, now this Vyasadeva is going to follow my instructions. And then he's going to compile the Srimad Bhagavata. So that's the second reason. Third, actually a spiritual master, he is the, how Prabhupada signs all his letters, your ever well-wisher, right? So now in this chapter, Narad Muni is going to heavily chastise Vyasadeva. And we'll read those verses. It is like, really will be like, Narad Muni is speaking this to Vyasadeva. So he's going to, but before that, he actually expresses a smile saying that, I am here. I am your ever well-wisher. So they express that. And then fourth is the point about confidence. That what Narad Muni, what Vyasadeva has done actually is amazing. That he did that one Veda, he divided into 4, he wrote the Puranas, he wrote the Mahabharata, he did everything following the proper method. That's amazing. So he is actually smiling on what Vyasadeva has done and what he's going to do, which is actually compile the Srimad Bhagavatam, which even Narad Muni is going to relish. Right? It is a scripture that even Narad Muni is actually eager to hear and drink the nectar So he's going to compile the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the fifth point is Chakravarti Pada explains that he smiles because now he's going to pose some really interesting questions in front of Vyasadeva. So if someone is like, thinking of like in a conversation, thinking of something like a tricky question or like something sarcastic, then he smiles that, oh, now I'll see. Now I'm going to tell you the right question, right? So he smiles for that reason. Right? Now, one theme in this section that we're going to come again and again, that a spiritual master, this is a very important point, that a spiritual master, he does two things. One is he actually gives us confidence. Second, he gives us humility. So these two is actually what the spiritual master gives a disciple. He'll give us confidence that, okay, I'm giving you this instruction, you can do it. And second, at the same time, he gives us humility in the core of our heart. And that humility sometimes comes in the form of heavy chastisement. But these two themes, just keep these themes in mind, humility and confidence, and we'll see how in these verses, Narad Muni is actually giving Vyasadeva both confidence in what he can do, and also he's making him humble. So this entire chapter, the first section of this chapter, which is the text 1 through 7, is Narad Muni inquires and Vyasadeva responds. So he's going to ask some questions, Vyasadeva is going to respond, and then again Vyasadeva is going to say, make the point that Prichami, I'm asking you, please tell me what is the deep root of my dissatisfaction, right? So that's the first point, and then first section. Then second section from text 8 to text 22. It has like so many important verses that Prabhupada repeatedly quotes in his classes. Text 8 through text 22. This is Narad Muni is clearly saying what is the problem. Why is Vyasadeva feeling dissatisfaction? Section 2, right? The first section is just Narad Muni is going to inquire, Vyasadeva is going to express like, okay, I'm dissatisfied, please tell me the root cause. Second section is Narad Muni is going to clearly say, this is a reason for your dissatisfaction. Third section, after which actually second section glorifies Bhakti and also Krishna himself. After glorifying that, he is actually going to give his own personal example. Narad Muni is going to talk about his own life and actually make the point that how he actually came to the stage of perfection. Right? So we'll read about Narad Muni's life. And then the last section is Narad Muni is going to advise Vyasadeva on some aspect of how Karma Yoga also leads towards Bhakti. Okay, so that's the last section. And why Narad Muni is talking of Karma Yoga, we'll come to that part. So these four sections. So first, 1 to 7 is basically the initial conversation between Narada and Vyas. Second section is the main theme of the chapter, where Narad Muni is going to instruct Vyasadeva the root cause of his dissatisfaction. Third section is where Narad Muni will give his own example and talk about his past life. And fourth section is how Narad Muni will instruct Vyasadeva on Karma Yoga and how that leads to Bhakti. Okay, text 2.
Narada Uvacha Parasharya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kechidatmana Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva Va.
Translation.
Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Prasharya, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?
So Narad Muni, he's come and immediately right to the point. But also, first Narad Muni says what? Parasharya Mahabhaga. Like if you remember in Bhagavad Gita also, like in the second chapter, Krishna smiles, then he actually speaks as na to aham jatu nasham na tuam deme janadipaha, and then he says dehino asmin yatade. But then he actually says tam titiksasa bharata. There also we see Krishna is addressing Arjun as Kaunteya and Bharata, right? Making the point that you are actually a son of Kunti. And from your father's side, you're the son in the line of Bharata. So for you, such a glorious soul, there should be no cause of dissatisfaction, or you shouldn't think the way you are actually thinking. So one way, even in Purport Prabhupada makes a point that, Vyasadeva, He's a great son of a great father, and hence he should not have identified with the body as mind as objects of self-realization. So you see both the points. One is he's actually saying, yes, you are so Mahabhaga, you're so fortunate that you're son of the great sage. So he's giving him confidence. Yes, you're such a great personality. And second, he's actually coming to the question, right? What is the question? Paritushtati shariraha and manasaha, right? So shariraha referring to the body, manasaha referring to the mind. Are you satisfied? Paritushyati, right? Again, we see that tushyati, right? The same word, satisfied. He said atushyata, and here he's saying tushyati. Are you satisfied, tushyati, with identifying the sharira and the manaha and mind as objects of self-realization? Right? So, so the main point that Narad Muni is asking Vyasadeva, that you have written all these great scriptures, all these Vedas and Puranas, but their focus is not directly on Yenatma Suprasiddhati. Right? We read this in chapter 2. Savai Pumsam Parodharma, Eto Bhakti Radokshade, Ahituki Apratyata, Yenatma Suprasiddhati. That Yenatma Suprasiddhati, you have not focused on that. You are focused on how the body and the mind can actually be the objects of self-realization. Okay, let's continue. So in one way, like Narad Muni is actually glorifying Vyasadeva, at the same time he's expressing his disappointment in Vyasadeva, right? So both the themes. Okay, text 3.
Jigyasitam susampanam apite mahad adbhutam kritavan bharatam yastvam sarvartha paribrimhitam.
So having made the point that, your scriptures you have actually written based on identifying the body as mind as objects of self-realization. Now he's saying, Jigyasitam susampanam, right? So again, susampanam means you are actually well versed in all the Shastra. Let's read the translation first. Gopinath.
Your inquiries were full, and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained.
Right. So now what is Narad Muni doing to Vyasadeva? Expressing confidence. What you have done is amazing. Your inquiries were full. Your studies are also well fulfilled. Like he like we read the word dharma with sarvavit. He knows everything, right? You know all the Vedas, right? So your inquiries were filled. Your studies are all fulfilled. And no doubt you have created a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata. Actually, Mahabharata is actually how Vyasadeva compiled it. It's actually a genius that he actually did. We discussed this last class, we remember, that he did all these excitement of Pandavas, Kauravas, how they are, their lifetime, and then Draupadi, Vrastaharan, all exciting things, right? And people of Kalyug, because they're dull-headed, they're so attracted to all these pastimes. And then right in between, when it comes to a climax of the Mahabharata, then Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yudsava, he put in the purpose of all the Vedas, and he is also giving us the essence of all the Vedas, right? Vedesa sarver ahameva vedya. So the highest essence of the Vedas is revealed in that Mahabharata. So that Mahabharata is wonderful, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences, elaborately explained, right? So it is, Prabhupada makes a point, it's not that, that Vyasadeva does not have sufficient knowledge, and that's why he is dissatisfied. He has all the knowledge. He has inquired perfectly. He's compiled the Mahabharata. Everything that seems is wonderful, right? Okay, text 4.
Jigyasitam aditam cha brahmaya tad sanatanam tatapi shochayasyat atmanam akritarta eva prabho.
Jigyasitam, right? Jigyasitam means you have deliberated fully well. So again, confidence. Aditam, the knowledge obtained, right? Brahma, the absolute. Okay. And sochasi, like na sochati na kanshati, right? Brahma bhuta prasnatma na sochati na kanshati, right? So sochasi means lamenting. And he says, Prabho, my dear sir. Okay, translation.
you have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone? My dear Prabhu,
My dear Prabhu, like see how Narad Muni is actually addressing Vyasadeva. Prabhu actually means what? Master, right? So one way Narad Muni is actually saying, Vyasadeva, you are wonderful. You have fully delineated subject matter of impersonal Brahman. So the Vedanta Sutra, which is also known as the Brahma Sutra, that is actually, which is compiled by Vyasadeva. After he wrote all the Vedas, he actually compiled the Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra. That gives actually full delineation of the impersonal aspect. So all the Aham Brahmasmi, all the Brahman aspect, it is actually very nicely described by Vyasadeva, and it is actually accepted as the most exalted philosophical exposition in the world, the Vedanta Sutra, right? And that's why it is actually said that unless a parampara, a spiritual line, has a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, that line cannot be accepted as a bona fide line. But in our line, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not focus so much on giving a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Why? We discussed this point before, right? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is the national commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. But at a particular time in our parampara, there was a challenge to our parampara that you don't have a direct commentary on the sutras of Vedanta Sutra. Like sutra means like kind of an equation, right? They're just like very condensed text, and then they have been so. And then at that time, so this was during the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baldev Vidyabhushan. And so the challenge faced to our parampara that we cannot accept you. You don't have a direct expression of Vedanta Sutra. And then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he actually was in Jaipur. He got the blessings of Govindji. And within a very short time, he actually wrote an entire commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, just to prove that our line is actually an authoritative line. And no one can come and challenge us that you don't have a commentary. Though for us, Bhagavatam is a national commentary, but we still have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So anyway, so the point here that Narad Muni is actually saying that you have fully delineated the subject of the impersonal Brahman, right? And why should you be despondent even after everything that you have done perfectly, thinking that you're undone, my dear Prabhu? So again, that aspect, note that aspect of confidence, at the same time humility. He's saying that, like they don't just like completely smash, because then the disciple is like, oh, I am useless, I cannot do everything. Encouragement, at the same time humility. Like, my dear Prabhu, you're so nice, you have done this, but still, why are you sad, right? So one point to note here is that, how in Bhagavad Gita we read, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanchati. Right? So one who is in the Brahma Bhuta state, he neither laments, nor he is hankering for anything. Right? Na sochati na kanchati. But why is here Vyasadeva sochati, lamenting? Right? So certainly here he said that he is fully delineated the Brahman stage. So he's, at that stage or beyond that stage. So why is he so chiti? So we can understand the lamentation that Vyasadeva is actually experiencing is not material. That lamentation, we read this in the previous chapter, Chakravarti Pad is making the point that, it is not possible for Vyasadeva to lament. After all, he is an literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can understand this whole thing is a pastime to actually reveal the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And also this first section is actually giving us a very important point that we may do everything perfectly, like even practically in a spiritual life. We say like, okay, I have the seva, so before doing the seva, I prayed to my spiritual master, I got all the blessings of the Vaishnavas, and then I did the seva. And even after doing the seva, you're feeling sad in your heart. And sometimes Krishna will not reveal that one point why you're feeling sad, because Krishna wants us to humbly approach our Guru and senior Vaishnavas and fall at their feet and ask them, please, you tell me what is the root cause? Why am I feeling dissatisfied? Krishna wants us to take that position of humility in front of a Guru or senior Vaishnavas. He wants us to do that. And hence he sometimes like holds on to that Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tan, so that we can actually hear it through devotees. Like we'll come to this theme later on also in the first canto when Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was so like after the entire battle of Kurukshetra, still he was feeling so despondent. He was thinking like, so many people were killed just because of me, just so that we are established as the emperors. This is not right. And no one could satisfy him. Why? Because Krishna wanted him to approach Bhishma Dev to receive the instruction. In that way, even glorify Bhishma Dev. So to glorify the devotees and also for us to develop that mood of humility, of humbly approaching a Vaishnava and saying, oh, I am still dissatisfied. Please tell me the root cause. To develop that mood, Krishna sometimes holds back. Everything may be perfect, but one thing is not perfect, you'll still be dissatisfied. And here, that this pastime is showing that everything Vyasadeva was perfect, but still he is actually despondent. Right? Okay. So also the word adhitam, which is there in this verse, means that he's actually understood and he's also fully realized the Brahman. He's actually, a spiritually realized personality. Right? So that adhitam is there. Okay, text 5.
Vyasa uvacha asyeva me sarvamidam tvayoktam tatapi natma paritushyate me tanmulam avyaktam aghadha bodham prichamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam.
So till now in 3 verses, what has Narad Muni said? Narad Muni has asked, oh, you are the son of Parasar Muni. Why have, you're identified with the body and the mind as objects of self-realization. Are you satisfied with that? Right? And then he's actually made the point, he's glorified. What you have done is wonderful. You have compiled the Mahabharata, your inquiries are full, your studies are fully well fulfilled. There is no doubt what you have done is amazing. And then you have also written the Vedanta Sutra. So why you should be sad? So Narad Muni himself is asking that question to Vyasadeva. No, Vyasadeva, we'll see what Vyasadeva is saying. Vyasadeva says, Asya eva me sarvam idam vivoktam. Now, what you have said is all true about me. Sarvam. It's true. All these 3 verses you have said that yes, I have compiled Mahabharata, I've done the Vedanta Sutra, all that is true. But despite also, tathapi is like almost like a but, yet. In spite of all this, what you have said is correct. I have done all this. Tathapi, despite of this, I am not satisfied. Okay. Again, that tushyati, again that word you see again and again coming, right? Paritushyate. Right? I am not satisfied. Right? And then he's actually expressing his confidence in his spiritual master. So this is the other point that the disciple, when he approaches a Vaishnava, a spiritual master, then he actually expresses, oh spiritual master, you know everything. You please kindly reveal this to me. What is the cause, or how I can progress in the spirit? What is lacking in my spiritual life? Actually, just the point of approaching someone and expressing that mood that, oh, something is lacking in me. Oh, I have this problem. Oh, please help me. That itself expresses our mood of humility, which is actually essential for the growth of bhakti in the core of our heart. Right? So he's saying for you, and then he's expressing his confidence here. And he's saying, you're a man of unlimited knowledge. Agada bodham. Agada bodham means a man of unlimited knowledge. Right? So at this point, like, how can a spiritual master be a man who knows everything? Right? So there's actually a verse that Prabhupada often quotes from Mundaka Upanishad. He says, Tasmin vigyate sarvam evam vigyantam bhavanti. Right? The one who knows Krishna, he knows everything. So how is Narad Muni a man of unlimited knowledge? Actually, the point that is said is that a spiritual master who is a via medium of Krishna, the super soul who's seated in the heart, will actually tell everything that the spiritual master needs to know about the disciple to help the disciple go back home, back to God. It is just like, I'll give you a mundane example. It's just like if someone has a Google search inbuilt in their brain. And someone says, do you know everything? Yes, I know everything. Why? Because there's a Google search, I can just search inside my brain and they'll give me the answer. So the point is, a spiritual master, because he's connected to Krishna, who knows everything, and Krishna reveals that knowledge, he actually knows everything that is required for him to know, to actually help the disciple take him back to God. Right? That's why here Vyasadeva is telling Narad Muni, oh, Agada Bodham, you know everything, you have unlimited knowledge. Why? Because you are actually connected to Krishna directly. Right? And then due to your being the offspring of one Brahma, so here is saying that you praise me as the son of who? Parasar Muni. But you yourself are the son of Brahmaji. So in all ways, you are actually greater than me. Right? In all ways, you are greater than me. And hence, your Brahmaji who is self-born, hence you can actually reveal the root cause of my despondency. Okay. Okay, so I think, right. Okay, text 6.
You did read the translation.
Oh yeah, translation. Okay, who's next?
Um,
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Sri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction, for you are the man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one Brahma, who is the self-born without the mundane father and mother.
Right, so Brahma is also known as what? Atmabhu. Atmabhu means he's self-born. There's no, as such, it's not how normally birth takes place. He's self-born. Okay, text 6.
Savai bhavan veda samasta guyam upasito yat purusha puranaha paravaresho manasaiva vishvam srijat yavatyati gunair asangaha.
Right. So here he's actually giving the point that why Narad Muni has unlimited knowledge. Right? What is this? Okay, translation.
O my Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you, because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world, and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature.
Everything that is samasta guyam. Guyam means what? Guyam comes in Bhagavad Gita also. Confidential or mysterious, right? Everything that is confidential is actually known to you. Why? Because you're directly in contact with Krishna. So that's why that verse I said, Tasmin Vigyate Sarvam Evam Vigyantam. One who knows Krishna, he knows everything, because Krishna will directly reveal everything that is to be known for the spiritual master. Right? So Prabhupada, in the first sentence of Bhagavad, this beautiful point, is a person who is sent person engaged in the service of Lord is the emblem of all knowledge. How do we get knowledge? When we are actually engaged in devotional service. So if you are 100% engaged in devotional service, then that is a person who knows everything. He's the emblem of all knowledge. Okay, so let's. So here basically Vyasadeva is expressing his confidence in his spiritual master, saying that you surpass me in all the ways, and hence you are actually qualified to reveal the root cause of my problem. That is text 7.
Tvam paryatan arka iva trilokim antascharo vayurivatma sakshi paravare brahmani dharmato vrate snatasya menyuyamalam vichakshva.
Okay, translation.
Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive supersoul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows.
Yeah. So here he's actually giving the example. He's saying 2 points. Arka, referring to the sun, and then the other one, the word is actually Vayu. Vayu. So if you see the qualities of both the sun and the air, they're all pervading. They're everywhere. So similarly, he's saying, Narad Muni, you are all pervading. And hence you are like the super soul in the heart of every living entity. And hence the super soul knows everything, right? So hence you can know the root cause of why I am dissatisfied, because you are like the super soul who is all pervading. Translation. Srinivas Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Like the sun, the goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive super soul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows.
So actually here, so we made the point about the sun and the air. That's like all pervasive. Both have that qualities. So similarly, he's saying you also are like the super soul. You are all pervasive, as good as the super soul. Therefore, you know everything. You know, your Paramatma knows everything. What is the desires of the living entity? Hence, you actually can find out what is the deficiency in me. And despite my trying to do everything perfectly, you please reveal the root cause of my despondency. So these are the three verses that Vyasadeva has spoken. And now Narad Muni will give the direct answer. So that's the first section. And now he'll directly come to the point. He say the root cause of your despondency is da. So that is text 8. Now, one thing that's here, that this is important to note, that how the Guru, he is all pervasive. That that we should have the conviction that anything we are doing, the Guru, our spiritual master, knows it. Guru is all pervasive. Anywhere we are saying like, oh yeah, my Guru Maharaj is in India, my Guru Maharaj is here. He doesn't know what it. Guru knows everything. And I think many of you may have this experience that sometimes you are in front of your spiritual master, and the spiritual master actually, you know, this actually we hear this, many disciples of Srila Prabhupada make this point, that they're sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada and they say that, oh, Srila Prabhupada looked at me and I felt that that look was penetrating into me, and Srila Prabhupada could see all that I've done for so many lifetimes. Guru knows everything. There's nothing that can be hidden from the Guru. And actually, maybe you have this experience that sometimes the glance of the spiritual master is so penetrating that the disciple cannot even hold it. You feel so ashamed that you have to kind of break out the glance. The spiritual master sees right through us. He's all pervading. He knows everything because he's directly in contact with Krishna. He knows everything. So nothing can be hidden from the spiritual master. And when we are actually approaching the spiritual master, we should have this point in our mind that Guru knows everything. So whatever is lacking in a spiritual master for spiritual life, for sure he knows and he can reveal it to me. That conviction should be there, that my Guru will tell me what is for my ultimate benefit. He knows where I'm lacking. And many times, practically for us, we think that, we read in Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam of envy and lust and greed. It's not in me. They're talking I'll use that for preaching, but it's not in me. Actually, they say, even for like psychological patients, this example is given, that 75% of the patients, the main problem is what? They don't accept that there is a problem with them. And I find that point, like, it's good for our spiritual life, that many times we don't accept it. Envy, me. No, I don't have any envy. I always am praising, So we tend to think in that way. So that's why that humility that a spiritual master actually gives us makes us realize that I'm just a fallen soul. I need a spiritual master who can actually reveal the deficiency in me. And that revelation will actually help me progress in my spiritual life. So that confidence, when we are approaching a spiritual master, that confidence should be there. He knows everything. He knows everything that I've done, and he can reveal the best thing for me. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now, Narad Muni is going to come to the second section. So first is almost 3 verses. Vyasadeva has spoken, Narad Muni has spoken, 3 verses. Vyasadeva has spoken. Now Narad Muni is going to come right to the point. Text 8.
Shri Narada Uvacha Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenaivaso Natushyeta Manyetad Darshanam Kilam.
Okay, translation.
Sri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless."
Okay. So, so the word uses anudita prayam. Anudita prayam means you have not described in too much detail what yashaha. Yashaha means the glories of Bhagavata, and how amalam, the spotless glories of Bhagavata. You have not sufficiently described the spotless glories of the Lord. That is the root cause of your deficiency. Right? And then he says that philosophy that does not satisfy the transcendent senses of the Lord is considered worthless. So any philosophy that is not satisfying Krishna, like how in one of the purpose Prabhupada makes a point, that anyone, like if someone is talking about you, oh, you have done this seva and this, it's so nice to hear, right? Vaishnava, out of humility, they don't take any praise, but it's naturally the tendency. Someone's talking about you, you like to, yeah, oh, so nice they're talking about me. So it's the same thing is there in Krishna. So when you talk about Krishna, even Krishna likes it. So any philosophy which is directly glorifying Krishna, that is actually giving pleasure to Krishna. So if you're talking anything which is not directly giving pleasure to Krishna, that is actually Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. So we see the standard of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, we see this in the first canto, second chapter, right? After the verses 8, 9, 10, where the Varnashram is actually described, the point is made, Dharnasam Stita Pumsam Vishwaksena Kathasvaya Notpada Yadi Ratim Shama Eva Hi Kevalam, right? That anything which does not give pleasure to Lord Hari is useless. So Bhagavatam is actually at the highest level, rejecting everything else which is even short of the topmost level. And here Narad Muni is pointing out that this Bhagavatam is what you need to compile, is that literature which will be relished by the Paramahamsas, which will be the highest of all scriptures. And that scripture should exclusively glorify Supreme Personality of God. Right? So the first reason why Vyasadeva is feeling dissatisfaction is insufficient glorification of the Supreme Personality of God. One way Vyasadeva, like even if you see in Padma Purana, you'll find so many stories of Krishna's pastimes, like Narsimha Leela, all those pastimes are there. But the point is, it is not sufficient. And the next verse will actually make the point more clear. Okay? So Prabhupada makes a point in purpose that if the author himself, after compiling everything, is feeling dissatisfied, what to expect of the readers of the same scripture? Imagine the author has compiled so many books, and after writing a book, is like, not satisfied, this is not so good. Then how do you expect the readers to be satisfied with that book? Right? So that's the point Prabhupada makes in the point. So even the readers and listeners of Vedanta cannot get that ultimate satisfaction. Let's see, any Chakravarti Pad makes a point. Yeah, he focuses on the, yes, okay, I think we're okay with this verse. Okay, text 9.
Yata dharmadayashcharta muni varyanukirtitaha na tatha vasudevasya mahimayanuvarnitaha.
Right. Dharma adayaha. Adayaha means etc. Right? So dharma etc. So what does it mean? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Right? And what does our Bhagavatam start with? Dharma projita kaitavatra parmo nirmat saranam sata. Right? Dharma projita, rejecting all these dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Right? So he's saying yatha dharma dayas charta. You have actually explained about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, but you have not anukirtitaha. This is very important word. Anukirtataha. Kirtana means what? We know kirtan, glorification. Anukirtata. Repeatedly you have not glorified. Right? And then anuvarnitaha, you have not constantly described. So constant repetition and constant description of the Supreme Personality of God that has not been done. So you have done Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Oh yeah, Krishna's pastimes. Or Narasimhadev pastime. Again, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and this pastime. So you have given the glories of Krishna, but you have actually mixed it with Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You have actually pointed out that the glories of the Lord is actually good to get liberation, to get moksha. You have said out of the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, you have said, okay, we are reading about the pastime of Lord Narasimhadev, and that will actually give us liberation. You have focused on these 4 aspects. But we don't want all that. We just want to focus on the Amala, the spotless glories of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So the second point is you have given more emphasis on the Dharmadaya, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And third point, you have not repeatedly and constantly described the spotless glories of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, so Prabhupada makes a point and purport that Vyasadeva, he deliberately avoided glorifying the Supreme Personality. Why did he deliberately avoid? So Vyasadeva is in one way incarnation of God, like literary incarnation. He deliberately avoided because he was thinking, oh, people of Kali Yuga, they are so fallen. How will they appreciate directly the pastimes, the spotless pastimes of Supreme Personality of God? They will not be able to appreciate. So hence, but they can relate to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So let me, through Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, give them some Harikatha. So one way Vyasadeva's thinking was, I'll do bridge preaching. Like even these days we talk of bridge preaching, right? We'll, do a bridge, like we give a bridge so that they can come to us. So Vyasadeva was thinking, I'll do bridge. So first they'll focus on Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, in that they may do some activities of Dharma. And then gradually when they're aspiring for Moksha, then they'll read about Krishna or some avatar, and that way they will actually progress. But Narad Muni is rejecting that approach that Vyasadeva has actually taken. Let's see. Okay, so Vyasadeva, he deliberately avoided this point, right? Thinking that people in Kali Yuga are so fallen, how will they actually, directly relish that Harikatha? Okay, now this point about Anuvarnitata and Anukirtita. Like in our bhakti, our main point is Anukirtita and Anuvarnitata. It is constant, repeated glorification. Like the same thing about Bhagavatam. We read Bhagavatam, many of you may have already read the full Bhagavatam. Again in Bhakti Vaibhava, what you're doing? We are again reading it. And why are we doing this Bhakti Vaibhava? If any one of you are thinking that, okay, 2 years, let me just finish. Uske baad, pack, book close, keep on the shelf. Ho gaya. Then that is not the point of Bhakti Vaibhava. The whole point of this Bhakti Vaibhava is to create that culture where every day we want to read Bhagavatam. We just like, without that, it's like as important as eating, as important that like eating is our reading of Bhagavatam. Every day, Anuvartita, Anukirtita, again and again and again and again. And when we do the activities of bhakti again and again, that will give us satisfaction to the heart. And sometimes people say, what? Only one mantra? You don't have any other mantra? Every time I see only Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There's so many other mantras in Veda, you should chant something else. No, for us, just Anukirtada, Anuvartita. The same Mahamantra, the same Bhagavatam we read again and again and again and again. And that repetition is going to give us complete satisfaction. So repetition in bhakti is actually the aspect of bhakti, and that will actually, like we read about in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit, hundreds and times they were reading what? 4th canto, 7th canto, 4th canto, 7th canto, 4th canto, 7th canto. And every time they were reading what? Crying, tears. And when Srinivas Acharya actually came and asked Gadadhar Pandit, can I borrow your copy of Srimad Bhagavatam? He said, you can take it, but I don't know how much you can read, because by the tears, all the script is washed away. So you will see only certain sections of the text, because we have cried so much reading Bhagavatam that most of the text has been washed away. And that's why he said, like, my copy of Bhagavatam will not be readable for you. So that again and again you have to do. Anukirta, Anuvarnita, right? Now, at this point, Vyasadeva may actually, Narada Muni is making this point, but I have described the qualities and pastimes of Krishna in Padma Purana. I have given so much description. Right? Then Narad Muni to that point is saying actually that yes, you have described, but again I made the point already. You have actually said pastimes of Krishna, you'll get moksha. You have not said that pastimes of Krishna, that is the highest. You have made it a point of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Right? But then Vyasadeva may say, no, but I have in certain aspects, I have like Padma Purana, I make the point that liberation is the highest goal in visiting holy places, but devotion to the Lord is actually greater than liberation. So I have made the point that devotion is higher. But Narad Muni to that point is actually saying, you have not done that sufficiently. People in Kali Yuga will not actually appreciate that point. You have to exclusively talk of Harikatha. You have not done so repeatedly. Okay, text 10. So this 10, 11 are verses for memorization, very important verses. Okay, so let's go. Text 10. Did we read the translation?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Text 10.
Nayadvachaschitra harer yasho Jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit Tadvayasam tirtam ushanti manasa Nayatra hamsa niramantyushikshaya.
Na yad vachaschitra. Chitra padam means like something which is very decorative. Vachaha, vocabulary. So, all like you may write beautiful words with, lot of poetry and alankar and this and that. But no, if it is not Harer Yasho, if it is not Yashaha means glories, Hari, if it is not pointing out the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jagat Pavitram, it will not have the potency to purify Pavitram, purify the holy place. And then he says, Vayasam Tirtham. Imagine, he's actually Vayasam means actually crows. This is actually a place of pilgrimage for the crows. All the literatures you have written is actually place of pilgrimage for the crows. Na yatra hamsa, those who are swans, they will not take any pleasure in what you have written. So, like, the main point is those who are Paramahamsas, they are interested in exclusive glorification of the Lord. They don't like all this concept of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. As soon as you say that, they'll be like, what is this? I want to hear only pure Amala Harikartha. And hence, everything else that you have written is Vayasam Tirtham, which is place of pilgrimage for the crows. Right? So Prabhupada in this and the next purport, he really takes time to make this point that how in this world, there are so many different literatures. Right? Thousands of people are writing books on thousands of different subject matter for thousands of years. Prabhupada makes that point. Right? Thousands of people are writing on thousands of subject matter for thousands of years. And how much unlimited subject matter is there? But all the subject matter, even though it is written in nice poetry and beautiful words and decorations of words and all those things, it is all useless. That is the standard of Srimad Bhagavatam. Those are Paramahamsas, they will not take any pleasure there. Okay, so translation.
Hare Krishna. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Hare Krishna.
So those who are Hamsa people, they will not derive any pleasure in this. I particularly wanted to show this so that you will actually keep that in mind. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Guru.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, anytime we get a choice, should I read Bhagavatam or should I read this? This seems so nice, interesting news. Let me read this or let me read this. We can remember. So do we want to be this, or we want to be this? So you see the crows, like in India, it's very common, right? We see all these crows. They are actually, on the garbage. They'll find like, oh, garbage, this is there, right? Right? We want to find like some file in the garbage. Oh, this is so relishable. Basically, all the topics, like Prabhupada makes a point in the purports, all the topics which are just based on sensuous topics of sense gratification, they are just like garbage. What has that to do with us? The only thing that is relishable. So we want to become a Hamsa. We don't want to become like a crow. So you can actually visually keep this photo in our mind. What are we trying? Hamsa or crow? Hamsa or crow? Hamsa or crow? And you want to become Hamsa again and again. Anu Varnita, Anu Kirtita. Of what? Srimad Bhagavata. Right? That's the visual. The picture speaks 1,000 words. Just share. Right? Okay. So let's go
Very
back.
nice, Prabhuji. Amazing. Really nice, Prabhuji. Yeah. Nice representation.
Okay. So also in this, like in this purpose, Prabhupada, let's see. So we were in, sorry, it's my scroller. So in this and the next purpose, Prabhupada really talks about how in the society, so much literature, almost all is like so much garbage, and he actually makes a point that it's all like focus is on wine and women, sense gratification and attraction to the opposite sex. Like, you consider all the literature, like even advertising companies, they actually say show attraction to the opposite sex and then your products will sell. That is their agenda, and everything is just based on that, right? Just for actually Sridhar Swami in his commentary to this verse, he actually says all those topics are just for prostitute hunters. He really uses such a strong word. All these topics are just for prostitute hunters. And Prabhupada makes a point that all these, decorative language with mundane similes, metaphorical arrangements are decoration of the dead body. Why decoration of a dead body? A dead body you can nicely decorate. And outside it will look, oh, so nice, gold jewelry and nicely decorated. But is there any life? There is no life in them. Similarly, all these subjects, externally they may look so nice. Oh, this action, this is happening, this is happening. But is there any substance? Is there any life? Nothing. So the decoration of a dead body. Okay. Now text 10 also. This is actually text 11. This is a verse that we read also in Prabhupada quotes in a preface of Srimad Bhagavata. Right. So this is one verse that everyone should memorize. Go ahead.
Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadyavatyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitani yat shinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava.
Translation.
On the other hand, the literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, and pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Hare Krishna.
Tadvag visargo. Visarga means a creation. So this scripture, is actually a totally different creation. One may say these are also alphabets. You're using, Tadvag, T-A-T, it's all alphabets, right? No, this is a different creation. Though we are actually using alphabets or akshar, it is actually a completely different creation. Just like the Hare Krishna Mahamantra we say, right? Someone say it is just H-A-R-E. It is just letters, right? What is so special about it? No, it is not just letters. It is the Lord has manifested, like how the Lord manifests through marble in a deity form. But He is the Lord Himself. Similarly, the Lord has actually appeared through the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna Himself. This is Krishna right in front of us in the form of letters. So this is a totally different creation. Tadvag Visarga is completely. and it has the potency of Janata Viplavaha. Viplava means what? Revolution. It has the potency to create a revolution in the life of the misdirected civilization, right? Prabhupada has added that revolution in the impious life of the world's misdirected civilization. It has that potency. Yasmin Prati Shloka, each and every stanza. Like I think everyone knows that famous Prabhupada quote. When we go out for book distribution, he says like, even if they read one page, they will be eternally benefit. Whatever one page, one paragraph they read, they'll get benefit. Whatever one paragraph, one line they read, they'll get benefit. Whatever one line, one word they get, they'll get benefit. Why? Because this is totally a different creation. This has the potency to create a revolution in the life of all the people. Right? And Yasmin Prati Shloka, every word, every sloka, right? Abadya Vatyavi, Abadavati, right? Even though if they are like irregularly composed, even though there may be some, previous you may find so many sensuous literatures which are so nicely decorated and Shakespeare and this English, that English, right? But even though this Bhagavatam may not be properly, like the words, the glories of the Lord, are not properly composed, still Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Sadhava. Those who are Sadhavas, those who are devotees, they will actually do what? Shrinvanti, they will hear, Gayanti, they'll speak, and they will accept this. Why? Namani Anantasya Yashwan Kitani. Namani, name, Anantas. Namani means name, etc. Name, form, pastimes, glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yashun Kitanicha, because they describe the glories of the name, fame, form, pastime, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hence, those who are devotees, they will Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, they will accept this. They will sing about it, they will hear about it, and they will accept this kind of literature. This is the literature that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Right? That's why even in the preface, Prabhupada actually quotes this verse, that this is our standard. It's a totally different creation. There's nothing to do with mundane literature. So Prabhupada in the purport very interestingly starts off by saying that great thinkers, they pick up the best from the verse. Right? So they actually, if there's a pot of poison, they'll take out the nectar from that. Or if there's a filthy place, if there's gold there, they'll go and take off the gold from that. But the standard of devotees is not like that. They don't like, oh, all the dharma, artha, kam, moksha, and in between harikatha. They don't like all that. They want pure harikatha. They want pure harikatha. So Prabhupada says, but the saints, they are not like this, like to take the best from the worst. That is, that may be good, okay. But for the saints, their standard is different. They want pure harikatha. If you give harikatha mixed with dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they will not appreciate it. Okay, and in this, let's see. Okay, in this purport, Prabhupada makes a very interesting point. He says, right now we have a crisis before us. This is historically at the time Prabhupada was writing. And what is the crisis? There is war between India and China. Right? And Prabhupada in this purport, he makes 8 different points. Why there are problems in this material world. And he gives the example of the India and China war. That for so many centuries, India and China, they live peacefully. And now, at the time when Prabhupada was writing, now there is war between India and China. Over what? Over a land which is not even livable. It's not even livable. Like who can live on a coal in the mountains? But there is a fight over that. And Prabhupada gives the reason. First reason, he says, because before there was the atmosphere of God consciousness. Now that is God. Right? So before atmosphere of God consciousness. Second, people were more God fearing. Like even if you see like 10, 20 years before, at least within my experience, people were more God fearing. Oh, I will not do that. Why? Because God is there. That God fearing attitude. Now people don't care. Oh, who is God? I can do all nonsense. Who cares? So there's no longer that God-fearing aspect. So second, God-fearing. Third, before people were pure-hearted and simple, right? Now, because of all the media and all these thousands of literatures, everyone has become duplicitous, sense gratification, all this corruption. Right? Before they were pure-hearted, simple. Fourth, polluted atmosphere. Because everything is based on material engagements, the entire atmosphere has become polluted. Right? Fifth point, there is systematic propaganda to stop glorification of Krishna, of God. Systematically, they arrange, oh, our country has to be secular. So wherever there is glorification of God, it should all be closed down. Systematic propagation of that. So for us, what is the need? We have to do systematic propagation of distribution of Harikatha. Right? So that is point number 5. Point number 6, he says, India has failed in her duty by neglecting this important work of distributing this knowledge all over the world. Especially those who are born in India. Bharata Bhumilat Janma. Janma hoya jan. Janma sartakari karo parokar. Those who are born in India, we have this special duty. We have to take this literature and distribute all around the world. Right? Because India has failed in its duty. That's why we are seeing all the problems. Right? Then point number 7, and there is so much obscene literatures, literatures based on sex and pornography, all those things. So much literature all over. The whole world is actually filled with all these obscene literature. And Prabhupada makes the point, even the government, they want to actually stop, these, I know at that time, I know if now they actually are, this like a big business even for the government. But at that time when Prabhupada is writing, he's saying, government, they want to reduce all these obscene literatures because that's leading to so much sex crimes and everything. So even government is interested to stop it. But because they do not have an alternative, they are unable to stop this. Because people need something to read, they need something to engage their mind, and because they don't have an alternative, even though they stop these literatures based on sex, etc., they cannot stop it, right? So that's point number 7. And point number 8 is the point about that people have an inclination to hear, but now everyone is in a jaundice-like condition. Right? And all these 8 points, Prabhupada actually makes that systematic propagation of Srimad Bhagavatam will fulfill all these points. Like how Nectar of Instruction makes the point, Sat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vide Pito Patapa Rasanasya Na Rochikanu Kintu Adhare Anudinam Kalu Saiva Jushte Sadvi Kramat Bhavati Tad Gada Mula Hantre. Right? So those are conditioned, this same Harikatha, it actually right now for, it's just like a jaundice patient. The cure for the jaundice patient, for him, like when he eats sugar, it actually appears very bitter. So all the people of the world, this literature may appear like bitter, but by regularly taking this literature, they will actually develop a taste for it. Just like a jaundice patient, his solution is if he regularly eats sugar, then he'll actually recover. Right? So for all these 8 points, Prabhupada says, I'll read this towards the end of the purport. It's like so wonderful. Like all these purports are so full with meanings, it's just very powerful. And you see the mood of Srila Prabhupada. What is Prabhupada's mood? Prabhupada is not interested, okay, one small center here, one small center here. His mood is a worldwide revolution, a worldwide spiritualization of the entire world. That's what Prabhupada wants. How Vaisheshekar Prabhu actually, he often quotes that there's this paint company called Sherwin-Williams, and they have if you have seen their logo, they have the earth and they have like paint pouring on top of the entire earth. And he says, that is what we need to do. We have to propagate this literature all over the world. We have to paint the world with this Harikatha in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then there'll be a revolution. Then there'll be hope for all of us. So the last but one paragraph, Prabhupada says, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. when men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are carrying poison to the society will then automatically cease. Other literatures which are actually what catering poison to the society. Why poison? Because all the other literatures, they are just increasing our entanglement in this material world, increasing our suffering in this material world. And how Bhagavad Gita 3:39 makes the point, dushpure na nalena cha, right? It is just like pouring fuel onto fire, and the fire will never burn. All the other literatures are like pouring fuel onto fire. And our suffering is just going to increase and increase and increase. Only the Srimad Bhagavatam has the potency for creating that revolution. So last sentence, Prabhupada says, we are sure therefore, see Prabhupada's faith and confidence in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the confidence we have to develop from Srila Prabhupada. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though, like that's Prabhupada's humility, even though it's now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada. Everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the standard. Okay. So let's see. Maybe I'll take. We can read few more verses and then we'll take a break. Maybe up to text 16 we'll quickly cover, and then we'll take questions. Okay, so next verse.
Naishkarmyamapyachyutabhavavarjitam na shobhate jnanamalam niranjanam kuta punashashvadabhadramishvare na charpitam karma yadapyakaranam.
Right. So he's giving the example further that actually knowledge, which is actually without knowledge of self-realization without Harikatha, that itself is actually not so good. So what to talk about fruitive activities that Vyasadeva has recommended for everyone? They are actually painful from the beginning and transient by nature, temporary by nature. And if they are not utilized for devotional service, then what is the point? Right? So he's giving the point that knowledge itself, even though it may be based talking of self-realization, but if it's without Harikatha, it does not really make a difference. What to talk of fruitive activities, which from the beginning, transient is all problems. If that is without devotional service, that's not utilized for devotional service, it is simply a problem for people. So what you have recommended is that Karma Kanda section is saying that is just useless. When knowledge itself without Harikatha is useless, then what to talk of your fruitive activities? They are useless. So translation.
Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient nature if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? Right.
So up to this point, what has Narada Muni done to Vyasadeva? Heavy chastisement. Heavy chastisement. Like imagine, consider this situation that you actually thought that okay, I have to do good for the society, and that means I have to do spiritual activities, and you actually take time, you pray to your guru and did like a huge project, and after that you go to the guru like smashes you and say what you have done is actually a place of pilgrimage for the crows. Imagine Vyasadeva has compiled all these literature, Vedanta Sutra, and what is Narada Muni saying? That is place of pilgrimage for the crows. The Paramahamsa will not derive any pleasure there. Heavy chastisement. So from this first section, we can also think about that guru-disciple, that relationship. It is very nice actually. So many points in this. So when we are actually, by chance we receive that heavy chastisement from the guru, I just was thinking few points that we can always remember from this entire section is one, the guru is greater than me in all respects. He is actually all pervasive. He knows everything about me. He is a well-wisher, right? So the first point is guru is greater than me in all respects. He knows everything. He is a representative of Krishna and Krishna is speaking through him. Second point, he is actually my eternal well-wisher. he is my true well-wisher. Third point is, Guru is actually chastising me so that I can recognize the faults in my activities. Guru is actually giving me the gift of humility. And then the fourth point, we can meditate on this pastime. How Narad Muni has chastised Vyasadeva. So if we, by chance receive this heavy chastisement, then we can meditate on these four points. Okay. Now, after giving so much chastisement, what is the other aspect? Guru gives what? Humility. He gives confidence. Now he'll give confidence that yes, I have made these points, but you are qualified to actually write this pure Amala Hari Katha. Right? Okay. Next verse.
Ato Mahabhaga Bhavana Mogadrik Shuchi Shrava Satyarato Drita Vrataha Urukramasya Kiraban Bandhayuktaye Samadhina Nusmaravad Vicheshtitam.
So now he is giving confidence by glorifying 6 qualities of Vyasadeva. 6 qualities he's saying. Vyasadeva, this is your quality. Aho Mahabhaga. You are actually most fortunate, right? Second one, Amogadrik. Amogadrik means you are the perfect seer. Right? Suchi Srava, your glories are spotless. Right? Satya Rataha, your vow is that of truthfulness. Drita Vritaha, you are fixed in spiritual qualities. Right? Okay, so these are the, and then Urukramasya Samadhina, right? So, and the 6 qualities actually are most important. But it's actually saying because of these 5 things, you can think of Urukrama. Urukrama referring to Krishna himself, one who does amazing, magnificent activities. Urukramasya khila. So you can actually in Samadhi and Anusmara. Again, that Anu is coming, right? Anu means what? Repetition. Anusmara. By repeatedly thinking, meditating about these pastimes will be actually revealed to you, right? Hence, you are actually competent to compile this Amala Purana. Okay. So, translation.
Oh, Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good frame is spotless. Your firm in vow is situated in truthfulness. And thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage.
Yes. Okay. So you are firm in your vow, straight and truthfulness. Thus you can think. Because of all these qualities, the Guru is telling the disciple, you are qualified to do this. You're giving the confidence. Yes, after smashing all the, giving that humility, now it's giving confidence. You can actually think. And in trance, in samadhi, you actually think again and again. You think about these, and these pastimes will be actually revealed to you, and then you can actually compile all these pastimes. You can describe them in detail. Right? So in this, Prabhupada actually makes a point that everyone in this world is looking for some kind of katha. They are looking for literature, and people have misused that desire of everyone by actually giving them so much nonsense literature. But we can actually give them Harikatha and fulfill their desire to hear something. So Prabhupada uses a word that everyone has become unfortunate victims because they had a need, but they have been cheated by that. They had a need to hear, but the entire society, the commercialization has cheated them. But we can actually give them the truth. Yeah. So this actually is a qualification of a person who is actually qualified to actually compose this Harikatha. Right. So these are the 6 qualifications. Okay. So in this point also Prabhupada makes a point that how there are thousands, this is a verse where he says thousands and thousands of men reading thousands of books for thousands of years, right? But still, unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility. This is the last paragraph starting. None of them have brought peace and tranquility. This is due to the spiritual vacuum in those literatures. All those literatures, there's a spiritual vacuum, and hence they are not. They don't have any potency. But Srimad Bhagavata will fulfill that need. Right? Therefore, is meant for all beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for all living beings all over the universe. Right? It's meant for everyone. And then Prabhupada also makes a point here. You know what? That example that Prabhupada often quotes in a lecture, that how one famous politician, he came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he actually said that, oh, you are actually writing this magazine, Nadia Prakash, right? Nadia Prakash. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was actually writing this book, Nadia Prakash, and they were they were actually having the publication, I think every week. I think that was a weekly magazine. And then the politician came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and said, like, what? How come you are talking on spiritual, like, reality? Every week you have one magazine? How come you have so much information? Every week you can do it. Then what did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur say? Actually, this one small city where we are, it has 5 newspapers every day. And this one city is so insignificant compared to the spiritual reality. The spiritual reality is so vast, so eternal, that at every second we can have a literature glorifying the spiritual world. That is how much unlimited knowledge we have of the spiritual reality, that every second we can publish a new book talking of the pastimes of Krishna. So how much we have, right? How much information is there? And we just need to broadcast this everywhere. So, so in this, actually, Chakravarti Pal makes a point that here is pointing out, by Anusmara, Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva that when we actually do that Anusmara, again and again remember Krishna's activity, then those pastimes are revealed in our heart, just like in one of the purpose, Prabhupada used the word, like a spiritual television. Like you turn on the TV and then there's some information, right? Some hero, heroine, their pastimes are going on. But for those pure devotees, when you do the Anukirtina, Anusmara, then those pastimes will reveal in the core of a heart like a spiritual television. And you can actually see that Harikatha, and that then you can compile all those Harikatha. So they will automatically or spontaneously manifest in the core of your heart, and hence you can actually compile all those literature. Okay, text 14.
Divya Nitalila Mataji is asking, what can you repeat again the 6 qualities?
Okay, 6 qualities. So one is Mahabhaga, most fortunate. Amoghadrik. Amoghadrik means one who is what does a translation Prabhupada use?
Perfect seer.
Yeah, perfect seer. Thank you. Yeah, perfect seer, Amoghadrik. Then Suchi Shrava. Suchi Shrava, right? So yeah, Suchi Shrava means his fame is spotless. Then Satya Rataha is actually taken a vow of truthfulness. Drita Vataha is actually fixed in spiritual qualities, right? So first one Mahabhaga, Amoghadrik, number 2, number 3 Suchi Shrava, 4 Satya Rataha, 5th Drita Vritaha is actually fixed in spiritual qualities, and fixed, the 6th is the final one, that Urukramasya Anudhina, Samadhina, that you actually in trance, you can actually meditate on the Supreme Personality of God. So these are the 6 qualities. Text 14.
Tatonyata kinchana yad vivakshataha pritagdrishastat kritarupanamapihi nakarhi chit kvapi chadushti labheta vata hatanor ivaspadam.
Right. So, one point here also, Narad Muni gives, like, he'll say positive and then he'll say negative. Like he'll positive about importance of Harikatha, like, that was Tadvag Visargo Jantaga Viplavo. And then before that, Na Yad Vachas Chitra Padam. So that is like negative. And then the positive is Tadvag Visargo. So he does that again and again. He'll point out the positive and negative. So in text 14, he's actually talking of the negative. He says, Tato Nyatha. Okay, Anyatha means apart, right? Okay, let's read the translation.
whatever you describe, whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names, and results to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place.
Yeah. So anything that you desire to describe, it is separate in vision from the Lord. Anything that is other than pure Amala Hari Katha, right? Then he's actually saying, what will that do? That will simply agitate the mind of the people. Even now, practically, like even someone is sincere in their spiritual life, then if he's given that, well, you can do Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, or there are so many demigods, you worship Ganesh, you worship Shiva, you worship Durga, so many different things. It is only going to confuse a person. So Prabhupada actually in the purport, he talks about this. He says like, there's Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. And then also like when there's worship of so many demigods, then think that, oh, Vedic philosophy is based on pantheism. You can worship anyone. All that's simply going to confuse the spiritual practitioner. It is just going to deviate the mind. We need that literature which is Ekeha Kuru Dandana. That's it. Like Vyavasatmika Buddhi, Ekehe Kuruna. One point that just focusing on Krishna. And then Prabhupada points out that even a slight deviation will create havoc. Right? Like it's nice to think about like how if you say we have two lines, right? Even they are like initially very close. They are like almost parallel, but slightly off. A little bit, little deviation. When they progress, then what happens? Opposite direction. Similarly, Prabhupada makes a point that even a slight deviation from this point of Harikatha will create havoc in the situation. And it's true for many spiritual groups. It may appear that, oh, he's talking of Harikatha, he's talking of this. But even a slight deviation from the full authorized method, the entire thing that's given to us, any deviation from this will actually just cause havoc in the society. It may appear similar, but it will create havoc. And hence Narada Muni is telling us that just give that Amala Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. Let that Srimad Bhagavatam be the guidebook for all spiritual groups. Then there'll be no question of deviation. But otherwise, all these Vedas and Puranas, and we know like people, you go to someone and Shiva Bhakta and say, oh, Bhagavatam says this, and say, no, Shiva Puran says Shiva is supreme, hence I'll worship Shiva, and then So Narada Muni is saying that all these literatures is going to confuse, and he gives an example, just like a boat. If there's wind from this direction, you go here, wind from another direction, you go here. There's no resting place for a boat. Similarly, the mind of that spiritual seeker, because of all these different literatures, will be like winds from different directions, which will only deviate his mind. Text 15.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nushashataha swabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha yadvakyato dharma iti tarastito namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha.
So here he is pointing out that what is the result of all your literature. Prabhupada, like, in this, I'll share some lectures, like especially the lecture to fix that Tadvag Visargo, and then the previous, like that section, he gives a series of lectures in New Vrindavan. Very wonderful lectures for this entire series. If you have time every day, you can hear one lecture for this. It's very nice. So, like in that Vaisam Tirtham Prabhupada says, there's so many conferences of the crows, and the crows just do caw, caw, caw. Like the way Prabhupada describes, like so nice. You should hear conferences of the crows. Okay. So in this verse, he's actually pointing out the flaw. He actually says that people are naturally inclined to enjoy. So in this lecture to this verse, Prabhupada makes a point that no one has to teach anyone about wine and women, attraction to opposite sex and wine. It's not somewhere it's taught. People are, because they have the tendency to enjoy, they naturally will actually engage in these activities. Right? And then what has Vyasadeva done? He's actually said, okay, if you want to do this, if you want to eat meat, then you follow this and this regulation and you eat meat. like we give the example that a doctor, a patient is not, a person is not supposed to eat sugar. He goes to the doctor, right? Doctor says, okay, you have this problem, you should not eat sugar. And the patient is like, he's like so disturbed. He's like, how can I follow that? And the doctor says, okay, I'll give you permission. One sweet you can eat. And say, oh, gulab jamun? Yeah, okay, gulab jamun. Okay, only one sweet, huh? Only gulab jamun. And that's it. Maybe once a week, one gulab jamun, that's it. And then because the patient just likes sugar so much, he comes back and what does he say? The doctor said, every day I have to eat gulab jamun. That is the cure. Right? So, because the inclination is there to eat sweets, right? Though the restriction is coming, but because the mind is so inclined to enjoy, something will come and something else will actually register in the mind. Right? So that is exactly Narad Muni is pointing out, that you have given all these literatures to create a restriction, the point of meat eating. Right? There's in the conversation between Chand Kazi and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this point is brought up, right? That the meat eating part is there in the Vedas, but that is just a restriction. Right? Okay, if you cannot do it, once a month you do it as an offering to Kali. But people don't take that. They take the restriction as a permission to do the activity. And Narad Muni is pointing out this flaw of Vyasadeva. Okay, so translation.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions.
Jugupsita, this word is very nice. Jugupsita means verily condemned what you have done. Jugupsita, right? And then he says, Swabhava Raktasya. People are naturally inclined to enjoy. And then they will actually say what? Vyasadeva has given us permission to do this. And it is just going to not. So another point that Prabhupada makes in the purport is that because in Kali Yuga people are so dull that they will forget the purpose of all these restrictions and they'll take that just as a permission. So so I'm guided under your instructions. They'll say, oh, Vyasadeva said, hence we can do it, right? So they will actually use that restriction as a permission to actually do all those activities. Okay, next verse. We'll do one more and stop, right? Yeah. So text 16.
Vichakshanosyarhati veditum vibur anantaparasya nivrittita sukam pravartamanasya gunair anatmanas tato bhavan darshaya cheshtitam vibho.
So one more point in the last purport I forgot to mention. In the last paragraph, if you see of the purport, Prabhupada says, the patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him, like the same example, right? But then he says, the expert physician does not make any compromise. So Bhagavatam is not making any compromise. Somehow or other, we have to directly give Harikatha, right? And then, yes, they have jaundice, but by regularly just somehow or other connecting them with Harikatha, they will get a taste for Harikatha. That is the process. So yes, initially, one may say that Vyasa, he thought he was giving the bridge preaching. And even we do bridge preaching. But our bridge preaching is not that first you do Karma Kanda, and then you will come to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Then in Moksha, you will actually hear Harikatha. That's not our preaching. That's never been our preaching. We do bridge preaching, but what do we start off? We don't change the Hare Krishna mantra. We go, we do Kirtan, Hare Krishna mantra. Maybe we say, okay, you do Hare Krishna mantra chanting, it will reduce stress. So that is the bridge aspect, but we are giving them pure holy name of Krishna. Then we give them Krishna Prasadam. So from starting, just give them Krishna. Don't give them anything else. Don't give Karma Yoga, don't give Jnana Yoga, don't give Karma Kanda, nothing. Give them pure contact with Krishna. In philosophy, we'll say, we won't talk of karma kanda. We may say, okay, start off with understanding our body, start off by being vegetarianism, all those things, because that's what they can relate it. But Harinam, Krishna Prasadam, and then gradually we are bringing them to Krishna. But our bridge preaching is totally different from what Vyasadeva was doing. And Narada Muni is completely rejecting what Vyasadeva style, right? Now, in this verse is very nice. Vichakshanaha. Vichakshanaha means those who are expert. So those who are experts, so Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva may still think, you're talking of this for people of Kalyug? The Kalyug will actually, they will appreciate Harikatha? I don't think so. Kalyug people are so manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrita. They are so fallen. How will they accept pure Harikatha? Then Narada Muni is actually making the point. Vichakshana, those who are very expert, they will see that all these literature are only giving us temporary material happiness. Only Krishna Katha will give us full satisfaction. So those who are vichakshana, those who are actually expert, will identify this and they will take up this path of pure bhakti yoga, pure devotional service to the Lord. And whatever the others will see the example of this vichakshana, and by that they will be inspired to take pure Harikatha. Like how many of us, when we took up the path of bhakti, were inspired by the example of another devotee and felt like, oh, we want to become like that. He's dancing, he's experiencing so much bliss in Harikatha, he's experiencing so much bliss in Kirtan, he's experiencing so much bliss in Harikatha. When he talks, it's just so wonderful. I just want to become like him. How many of you have that experience? Right? Like when I started coming to ISKCON temple, I was like, oh, this brahmachari, like I saw one brahmachari and he was like so effulgent and so pure, and the way he spoke Harikatha, I was like, that's it. I want to become like him. That was the first thing on my mind. I want to become like him. That's it. So that is the formula for our preaching also, that we ourselves set the right examples. So we somehow or other connect them to Krishna and we become examples. Purity is the force. We become examples. And when people see us, that these personalities, these Hare Krishna, they're always so blissful. They're always so happy. They're chanting, they're dancing, they're feasting. I want to become like them. That's how we preach. We preach by somehow giving them Krishna and setting the right example. Right? So Narada is so beautiful, this section. He's teaching us how to actually preach Krishna consciousness, right? And he's actually making that point to Vyasa. So those are very expert, they will understand the difference. And those who are not so expert, they will see these people and they will follow, take up the path of Krishna consciousness. Okay, translation. Who is...
The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord.
It's purpose and purport. It's last but maybe 6-7 line. I'll read that one sentence. Beautiful. The expert devotees can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. So Prabhupada is talking of like bridge preaching, right? But he's actually making the point that it should be Harikatha focus, and then it should be setting personal example. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Okay. And Prabhupada Chakravarti in this commentary actually quotes that Yajad Achari Shreshtas. You take up Krishna consciousness, you set the example, people will see you and they will take up Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we'll stop here. We still have quite a bit to discuss. This chapter is like, and all the purports are loaded with so many points. But let's see, we will see if there are any questions, comments. Can we take, I know we're always short of time, but 3 quick realizations from this before we come to questions. From all the points that we discussed this. quickly, 1, 2, 3. 3 people can share anything that they have.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like it that how any philosophy that glorifies Krishna also pleases Krishna,
Yes.
gives pleasure to Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice.
I like the point of Anukirtita and Anuvanita. So every day you should read Bhagavatam.
Again and again and again.
Again and again and again.
So the Bhakti Vaibhava is creating that culture. Right? Thank you. Okay.
Hare
Next.
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I liked that point where you made, even if the literature is not perfect, but by the, because it is glorifying Krishna, people will accept that as true.
Nice. Very nice. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The spiritual master knows everything and he can see everything through the mind.
Nice. Very nice. Anything else?
I like the point that expert physician does not allow any compromises.
Yes.
He wants to give the perfect medicine.
Yes.
I like the point that Harikatha in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam is the only solution for all the problems.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
The guru gives confidence and humility.
Yeah, spiritual master gives confidence and humility. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I like the point which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere. Then it is like a place of pilgrimage for crows.
Place of pilgrimage of growth. Yes. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Prabhu, I like the same point, like be a Hansa, not a crow.
Be a swan, not a crow. So we can all imagine, keep that image in our mind, right? A hamsa and a crow. I'll post it on group also so we can see and realize. Okay. Anything else?
Krishna likes when we glorify, like how the devotee feels happy when we glorify.
Yes. Yes. Krishna likes when you talk about him. Yes.
I like the point of how you said that Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna is right in front of you. What's a direct contact with him, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Just anyone else?
I like the point that spiritual master knows everything. He can penetrate through your heart.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. So did Mohan Prabhu Lavang, you had a question?
Yes, Prabhuji, one question was like, sometimes, Bharata refers to just in India, and sometimes, Bharatvarsha refers to the whole world, like, where to, take like India versus world.
Like particularly that verse that we quoted, Bharata Bhumito Janma, that is basically referring to India as such. But Bharat actually also is referred to the whole world. So it depends on the context. We have to see which context. Actually, in the 5th canto, when you actually read the descriptions of the entire world, then you'll see Bharat. What is the definition of Bharat? Like Bharat actually, it's Prabhupada says it is based on the king Bharat. And Bhagavatam actually 3 times it comes. There are different kings of Bharat. And then some say it is based on one or the other. That is the name of the kingdom that King Bharat was ruling. So right now, at least we can consider in context to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's point of Bhagavat Janma, as those who are actually born in India have this responsibility of giving this knowledge to the rest of the world because. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ratnadika, one question.
You mentioned how Narada Muni was saying to Vyasadeva, you're just creating confusion with these, with all the Vedas, and now people think demigod worship and karmakanda. So you should just have one scripture that is the king of all the other scriptures. But I was thinking, like, now that people already have that, how do we promote Srimad Bhagavatam as the king scripture? Because people already got confused from the other, and then they might not accept Bhagavatam as the, as the highest.
Yeah, that's the same point about the jaundice patient, right? Like actually Bhagavatam is saying, even if you are actually studying the Vedas, Puranas, all the other sections, it's just like a conditioned patient. So jaundice patient, what is the cure of jaundice patient? Slowly, somehow or other, we have to make him eat sugar. Even though he doesn't like, make him eat sugar. So similarly for these people, like, okay, they don't accept Bhagavatam, but somehow like let them hear the Kirtan. People are attracted to kirtan. Like even whatever there's a philosophy, they say, oh, kirtan, nice music. They'll come, they'll hear Hari Kirtan, or they'll have Krishna Prasadam. So by these, and if they are philosophically inclined, then you can actually kind of bring out the glories of Bhagavatam. Like everything what you're reading here is actually, we can, at this point, we should be able to authoritatively prove the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have discussed so many points on glories of Bhagavatam. So if they are really inclined to hear, they're philosophically inclined, then we can present how Bhagavatam is the highest and then take it from there. Otherwise, depending on the person, then they may have to just come, attend kirtan, engage them in some temple seva, and by that purification, by coming in contact with devotees, then the point about the example. They'll say, yes, I have this Veda, that Veda, but see these devotees, they're so happy, so blissful. Something about them, something about them. I want to see what they are doing. What is their process? What they are studying, what book they are following. And then gradually they'll come to understand. Yes, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Vaishnavas, that is the thing. Okay. Okay, so stop here. So let's take a 5 minutes break, and then 8:55. So 9 will resume. Okay. So we'll take a 5 minutes break, stretch out, do your pranayam, Surya Namaskar, whatever. Come back.
Srimati Bhaktivedanta. One time again, a little louder with your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna Everybody, a little louder.
Hare Krishna. Okay, everyone, please come back. Let's continue. Okay, anyone has some any practical questions about the course before we continue? Someone had asked about the verse recitation that is at the end of the first module. So we are in the second subunit, so we'll have one more subunit, and after that we'll be finishing the first module.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Hi, Prabhu. Prabhu, I was thinking the verse recitation, that will be a test, right? At the end of.
Yeah, end of first module, yes.
So then there will be a lot of verses, right? By that time.
Yeah, but you can select, like every week I post some verses to memorize. If you're just keeping up, that's the whole point of Bhakti Vaibhav is like, if you're keeping up with the every week homework, learning of verses, reading, then you'll be fine. Like especially your verse memorization is not something that, essay and other things, maybe you just say, okay, one day I'll just sit and I'll do it. But verse memorization is not something that you can do it in a couple of days. It needs like repetition Anuvartita, Anukirtita, to again and again back to it. So just keep up with your memorization of the verses, particularly the verses I'm posting on the group, and then plus you have the Bhakti Ratnamala, right? You can always keep that book with you wherever you go. You're going to Walmart, shopping, when you're standing in line, open it, memorize verse. So in the Bhakti,
I don't
creating that culture. Okay.
I don't have Prabhu Ratnamala book.
But the small book you don't have?
No, I don't have that.
So next time,
do I have?
Collect it for me.
Sure, Prabhu. I will. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so let's continue. Yeah.
You will any verse for the test?
From the Ratnamala and the verses I'm posting from the group. Those are the verses. And basically, from Ratnamala, you can select. It's best to learn all the verses in that book, but it's not as such required. I think the entire 6 cantos is, I think, 200 verses, and you're just required to learn 70 or 80 of those verses. So.
Okay. So how many verses after each module?
I'll have to check. It must be there in that handbook. Anyway, I'll post on the group. I don't remember what was the requirement for each module. Okay. Anyway, I'll post. Okay. So should we continue? Right? We still have a lot to cover in this chapter. We'll see how far we can go. And I may have to do a recording this week, but let's see. Okay. So now up to this point, so what has Narad Muni told Vyasadeva? First of all, he's directly given the reason for Vyasadev's dissatisfaction. You have insufficiently glorified Supreme Personality of Godhead. Second one, you have pointed Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. You have given more emphasis on these points. Then further, he had actually made the point about comparing scriptures that glorify Krishna, right? Tadvag, Visarga, Janatak, Vispro, with other scriptures which do not glorify Krishna, even other Vedas, Puranas. He said if they don't directly glorify Krishna, then they're not going to purify this place, and that is basically Vajam Tirtham. And then he's pointed out that how bhakti is actually the only valuable thing, right? And he's so he's brought out this point about just focusing on Krishna Katha, Krishna's pastime, and he's pointed out that bhakti is the highest. Now, from text 17, you can see me okay and hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhu, you're able to.
Okay. Oh, I think video is choppy for everyone is.
Yeah, but it's a delay going on, Prabhu. Then your network is showing red. So
What is showing?
The low network, low bandwidth is showing.
I don't know what I can do here. Let's continue. If my voice is breaking, then you can please stop. Okay. As long as you can hear me, that should be good. Yeah. Okay. So next point is next 3 verses, 17, 18, 19. These are also like very important verses. Again, Prabhupada frequently quotes this verse, pointing out that how progress in bhakti is always an eternal benefit. Right. So let's start text 17. This famous verse, even in Bhagavad Gita, in first chapter in the purport, Prabhupada quotes this verse, often quoted. Many of you may already know this, but it's a verse for memorization. Okay, go ahead.
Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakvo tapatet tato yadi yatra kvava bhadrama bhud amushyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha.
So this verse is actually saying, Tokta Sadharmam, if one actually gives up his Swadharma, the dharma related to, what is Varna, is Ashrama, if he gives up that dharma and he Charnam Bhujam Harir, he actually takes to the lotus feet of Hari, Bhajan Apapko, and engages in bhajan to the lotus feet of Lord Hari. But Apapko, but if his surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna is immature, right? And then pate tato yadi, and in case he falls down, yatra kwa vabhadra abuddhe amushikin, what can be abhadra for him? Because he has taken that devotional service, he has done that little devotional service, that is his eternal credit. Ko varta apto bhajatam sadharma. But on the other hand, if a non-devotee is fully engaged in his swadharma, what is the benefit? Ko varta, what is the benefit of such a person? So here it's actually pointing out that glory of devotional service, that even if someone takes up bhakti, and falls down due to some reason, what bhakti has done, that is his eternal benefit. Right? On the other hand, if someone says, okay, I'm doing my duties of varna and ashrama perfectly, but if he is not, like this is again going back to the same point, right? Dharma swanstha pumsam vishwaksena kathaya no pada yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Same point, right? That if it's not actually leading to attraction to hear Harikatha, then all your dharma, what is the point, right? So here is saying, even if one falls down from that surrender to Krishna due to some previous conditioning or immature surrender, then still there's no danger, because what devotional service is done, that is always his eternal benefit. So just focus on bhakti. That is the main point. Okay, translation. Who's the next on the list?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
One who has forcing his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down, which is an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything.
Like Bhagavad Gita makes a point, right? Neha bikramo nastasi pratyavaya savidyate. Even little bit advancement, that is your eternal credit. So basically here, Narad Muni is actually telling Vyasadeva that, this bhakti is not dependent on the varna and ashrama. Like you have actually pointed out dharma, artha, kam, moksha, right? So dharma means all these duties one has to do. So bhakti is not dependent on all these duties. The bhakti is just independent. So you just focus on bhakti, not on so much on dharma, artha, kam, moksha. Just do bhakti. And someone, if Vyasadeva says that, oh, if they take a bhakti and they fall, then what is the benefit? Then Narad Muni is saying, even if they fall down, there is no loss. Right? Okay. So we'll go a little faster here. Prabhupada and the Purpoti quotes examples of Maharaj Bharata, how he fell down, he became a deer, and then Chitraketu, right, how he actually fell down. So all these, and then Ajamil, so Prabhupada gives 3 examples, but Prabhupada is actually making the point that since they actually took up devotional service, that Bharat Maharaj, though he became a deer, but in the deer's body, what? He could actually always remember his previous lifetime. So that clearly shows that even though he fell down, Krishna did not leave him. Right? And actually in both these passages, Chitraketu and Bharat Maharaj, and there in the purpose, Prabhupada clearly points out that fall down was just to increase their eagerness and intensity of bhakti to Krishna. That was the only thing. Right? So even if you fall down, Krishna, once you take up Krishna consciousness, and how in Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada makes one is forcibly dragged to success. Once you take up Krishna consciousness, then somehow or other Krishna will pull you back. So hence there's no loss even. And so this does not mean that we should take our bhakti lightly, and it just shows the power of bhakti compared to our occupational duties. Okay, next text. Actually, in this, Chakravarti also mentions that the other famous was Devarshi Bhutatma Nindam Pritinam Na Kinkaro Naya Brinicha Raja Sarvatma Ye Sharanam Sharanam Gato Mukundam Parihitta Kam. This Bhagavatam 11.541, where he actually says, one who takes shelter of Mukunda, then Devarshi Bhutatma Nindam Pritinam, then all his debts to the demigods, to the sages, to the living entities, to the family members, everything is actually taken off. So one is no longer debtor to all these different personalities. Otherwise, if one is not doing bhakti, as soon as he takes birth, he has his debt to all these personalities. And hence one has to repay. But once you take a bhakti, then no need, all the debt is already cleared up. Okay. Next verse.
Tasyaiva heto praite tako yo nalabhyate yad brahmata uparyadaha talabhyate dukavad anyata sukam kalena sarvatra gabhiram Hassan.
This is also another verse that Prabhupada often quotes. Tasvaya heva prayateta kovido. Which is this word Kovida now. It's before before pre-COVID. Actually, I think Gaurang Prabhu, he has started this course on Bhagavad Kovida. But then after that, I never saw the name of Bhagavad Kovida. But because of COVID, now we cannot like openly say, become a Bhagavad Kovida. People will be like, what, COVID? But here the word is saying, Kovida means one who is actually philosophically inclined, or one who is intelligent, especially at the level of Bhagavatam. So taseva hetu prayateta Kovido. So one who is Kovida, not COVID, one who is Kovida, then na labhyate yad brahmatam upari other. Brahmatam means to travel. Upari means up, other means lower. So one who is philosophically inclined should not actually aspire for that thing which can be obtainable by traveling even to Brahmalok or to Patalok. Even all those things. So one who is actually intelligent, he should endeavor only for that thing which cannot be obtained by all these travel to even Swargalok, Brahmalok, all those things, right? And then he makes a point that tal labate dukhavat anyata sukham, because as happiness, as distress comes on its own accord, even happiness will come on its own accord. It's all based on a pious previous karma. It's not that that okay, I'm working so hard, now I'll become happy. No, one who is intelligent, he knows everything is actually working on the previous karma, and to actually get happiness, I have to do pious credits, right? So anyway, I have to endeavor even to get happiness, right? So why not endeavor for that purpose, which is actually our eternal benefit? Why endeavor for something which is actually temporary? So because Vyasadeva in all the sections of the Vedas have focused so much on karma kanda, then Narad Muni is clearly saying that, even the happiness of Swargalok compared to the happiness of like dogs and hogs, it is the same aspect of sense gratification. Just it may be like different in degree and different in quality. These two things may be different, but it's the same thing. Like you're getting something, but it's just packaged differently. That's why it's puna puna charvita charvanam. Right? So again, we choose the same thing, right? So it is just difference in degree and quality. Even the happiness of Swargaloka, Prabhupada and the purport quotes on that, Janma, Aishwa, Shruta, Shri. These four things are what everyone is looking for. Good birth, good opulence, good beauty, good education. But all those things actually comes by pious work, So if you have to anyway work for these things, why not work for something that is going to be your eternal benefit, that will give you eternal happiness, not this temporary. So Prabhupada explained, don't be tempted by all these temporary happiness. Desire a permanent life of bliss and knowledge. Yeah, and then Prabhupada also closed that point that he said, just as one does not pray for misery, but still gets misery, similarly, one will get happiness on his own accord. So don't focus on all those things. They will just come and go, right? Just like changing of seasons, right? They will come and go. So don't focus on that, but focus on what really matters, right? Your eternal happiness that we are all seeking for. Right? So Prabhupada concludes and says, one should not therefore waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back home, back to God. That should be the mission of everyone's life, right? That's our mission statement. Go back home, back to God. And all these flimsy things, Swargaloka, and then you get Somaras, all those things. It sounds attractive, but there is no substance. It's just temporary, right? So those who are Kovida, those who are intelligent, those who are philosophically inclined, they should not aspire for all these temporary things, because they will come and they will go. Right? Okay, translation.
Truly intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by vanishing from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patal. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them.
Yeah, automatically often. This will come, this, the happiness, distress of this material world, it will come and go. Practically, even in our life, sometimes in our face, like all of a sudden, you are blessed with so much opulence, like you'll get a bonus or this and that, or sometimes all of a sudden we get health problem. These things will come and go. Don't be disturbed by anything. Don't make this kind of happiness your goal of life. Be a Kovida. Aspire only for those things which are actually not obtained by traveling even from Brahmalok down to the lowest planet. Aspire for going back home, back to God. Okay, text 19.
Navaijano jatu katanchana navrajin mukunda sevyan yavad anga samsritim smaran mukundang greyupaguhan punar vihatumichen narasa graho janaha.
Again, this goes back. So all these three verses are related, 17, 18, 19. So even 19 making a point. Even if one falls back, right? What is the situation? This verse, Vaishaka Prabhu often quotes this verse. Very often he quotes this verse. So you can hear him say this. Na vai janu jatu kathan chana brajain. Okay, translation.
My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruit of workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again.
So even if a person takes up devotional service and he falls down, he will not undergo the same karma like other fruitive workers. Why? Because once he has tasted that lotus feet of the Lord, even though he falls down, he can just think about that same taste of bhakti. And that will draw him back onto the path of bhakti. So even though someone takes up bhakti and after some time is like, okay, he wants to enjoy material opulences in the name of bhakti, right? To that person, like even though he may be acting, not practicing the activities of bhakti, but once he has taken out the path of bhakti, that taste in his mind will draw him back again and again. Right? How Bhakti Vinod Thakur in Bhajan, he said, Ek bar rase mature. Just once relish the nectar of the Holy. Once you have the taste, even if you go away, you will actually come back because the taste will actually, Chakravarti Pad actually makes a point, like a ghost, it will haunt you. That you cannot like, oh, I did bhakti, it was so sweet. Why am I doing this? Oh, now I will go back to bhakti and I'll never leave the path. Prabhupada in the purport makes a point that the devotee is rasagraha. Rasagraha means he has actually got that nectar. He has got that taste, right? And even though he falls down, he will actually remember that taste again and again, like a ghost haunting you. That taste will come again to your mind again, and Krishna will remind you, oh, that Krishna prasadam, the Sunday feast prasadam was so good. The gulab jamun that this person made, oh, Krishna prasadam, so good. I have to go back. I have to go back. It will remind you again and again, right? And then Prabhupada gives the example, the difference between an orphan and the child of a king. Even though a child of a king may wander away, but because he knows that the entire palace is waiting for him, even though he wanders away, he will actually keep that in mind and at some point just turn and go back. The entire palace, all those opulences are there for me. Let me go back. Similarly, a devotee who falls away, then he may come back. Then Prabhupada, another point in the purport, he says that sometimes when devotees fall away and they want to enjoy material opulence, Krishna will sometimes put them in a situation that he'll take away everything they want to enjoy. And then they will left helpless and they have no other option other than, oh Krishna, now you save me. I want to come back to you. Krishna will do that. So once we take a bhakti, Krishna will actually take charge of us. Right? And then, what's the other point? Yeah, and also like Prabhupada compares this, like how Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, he makes the point that those are progress to a certain level of bhakti. Then if they fall down, then what does Krishna say? Well, they'll take birth in another family. Right? But here in this purport, Prabhupada is pointing out that for those who are more fortunate, that is for the less fortunate, those who are more fortunate, Krishna will put him in a situation where he will actually take away everything materially, and he'll take away his relatives. That way, only thing left will be Krishna. And that way he'll bring him back to Krishna. So even one falls away, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, still he will actually come back. And why is he stating all this? Because in Kali Yuga, people will take up the path of bhakti, and then because of their previous conditioning, they will fall away. But he's saying they will come back. They will come back because they have tasted. And Chakravarti Pad in this point, someone may think in this verse that, oh, taste, that seems that I have to progress a lot to get real taste. Chakravarti Pad actually makes the point in this purport, even from the first day of worshipping Krishna, that is actually a tasting of rasa. Maybe it is a little bit in covered form, but first day you came to bhakti, you engage in bhakti, that is some taste. So even if someone wanders, that taste will haunt you. It will come back to your mind, remind you, oh, go back, go back. And finally you'll say, oh, Krishna, I'll come back to you. I won't take anything else. Okay, so those three verses are pointing out how the progress of bhakti, it can never be taken away. So just speak about bhakti. That's it. Even if you're concerned that people will fall down, don't worry. Whatever they do, it's an eternal benefit. And then even they fall down, they will be forcibly dragged back to the path of bhakti. So just focus on bhakti, glories of Krishna. Right? Now, after giving this, so up to this point, Krishna has, Narad Muni has pointed out the glories of devotional service. Now, very briefly, he'll talk about glories of Krishna also. Okay, so we can do this verse quickly. Text 20.
Idam hi vishvam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatsthana niroda sambhavaha tadi swayam veda bhavam pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam.
Okay, translation. Okay, let's go quickly. We are short of time. Who's
Maybe
next?
Varshamata.
Varshamata, you guys? Who is it?
Oh, it is me, Prabhu.
Okay, right.
The Supreme Lord personality of Godhead is himself, this cosmos. He is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and to him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
So now he's glorifying Krishna himself. He's saying Krishna is actually, he himself is this cosmos. He is a creator, maintainer, the annihilator, but he is actually aloof from them, right? So this is also the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, 5. Same points are actually made. So he's glorifying. And then the main point, he's saying, your good self, you know all about this. You are an avatar. So you know all about this. I have just given you like a zip file. You unzip it, right? You unzip the file. I mean, just briefly, I have told you, but you elaborate on this, right? And and the word like Pradesha Matram, actually Chakravarti Pad actually says, is just like 10 fingers, right? So if you put 10 fingers together, or just it is considered from the from your thumb to the little finger, this much. I have given you this much, but the Lord is unlimited. So you take this much and you expand, you do anusmara, you remember the pastimes and you expand it into the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. I've just given you a zip file, you unzip it. Okay. Okay. Next, 21.
Atmanatmanam aveyamogadrik parasya pumsa paramatmana kalam ajam prajatam jagata shivayatan mahanubhava bhyudayo diganyatam.
So again here, he's actually expressing his confidence in Vyasadeva. Translation.
Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, more vividly.
Right. So Narad Muni is actually saying, you yourself are you yourself are an empowered incarnation of the Lord. Right? Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation. And this entire pastime is so interesting. Narad Muni, he is an empowered incarnation of the Lord. Vyasadeva, he is an empowered incarnation of the Lord. One empowered incarnation is telling another empowered incarnation that you have to actually glorify Krishna. So it's all like all three are actually one way Krishna himself, but one incarnation of Krishna is telling another incarnation of Krishna and glorify Krishna. Right? So here he's clearly saying that you yourself are actually the plenary portion. So you are actually birthless. You have appeared on this earth only for the well-being of others. Therefore, you actually describe, do what you have come here for. Right? Okay, translation.
So we did the translation. Should we go to text 92?
Oh, yeah, we did translation.
Ihi prasas tapasa shrutasya va shrishtasya suktasya cha buddhi datayo avichutartha kavibhir nirupito yad uttama shloka gunanuvarnanam.
Right. So now he's concluding that entire instructions here. Right. So this is a concluding verse where he says this is similar to Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter last verse, right? Where he actually says that all the processes, they culminate in what? Yad uttama shloka gunanuvarnanam. All the processes of what? Tapasa, austerity, shrutasya, study of the Vedas, swishtasya, sacrifice, suktasya, spiritual education, buddhi, culture of knowledge, datayo, charity. All these different processes which are actually elaborately explained in the different Vedas, they culminate in devotional service. They culminate in uttama shloka gunanuvarnanam, in description of the qualities of that uttama shloka. Everything of this, they are meant to come to this person. And then not only that, but the benefits of all these different processes can be obtained by glorifying Krishna. Hence, you only glorify Krishna. Right? Translation.
Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, taking of hands, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry.
So you have described all those things so much in detail in Vedas, but the culmination of all this is to come to glorification of Krishna, right? And if you glorify Krishna, you'll get the benefits of all this. Hence, only glorify Krishna. And this purport Prabhupada actually said that there's so many subject matters as studied, like art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, so many branches of knowledge. But all of them should be actually meant for glorification of Krishna. Right? How Newton, he wrote his famous book, and he said, I've written this book, and my whole purpose of this book is one who actually reads the book should actually understand the glories of God. Everything, every subject matter should be actually meant for glorification of God. And if that is done, then even your physics, chemistry, biology is actually Hari Kirtan. Prabhupada makes that point in purpose. Right? Okay, text. Okay, so now he's concluded. Now, next section, 23 onwards, is he'll give his own personal example. You know, how he attained perfection through this path of bhakti. And then the last section is basically, after talking of the entire thing of bhakti yoga, how in any text that we see in Bhagavad Gita, talks of bhakti, but it makes it complete by talking of how karma will lead to bhakti. Similarly, he's concluded this by how to Vyasadeva, by how process of karma yoga will actually lead one to devotional service to the highest perfection. Okay. So now from 23 to 31 is the story of Narada Muni. So since we are short of time, we'll just read the English translations, and I'll quickly comment, and we'll read this section, and we can stop. Just a few more minutes. Take 7, 8 minutes more. Okay. So go ahead. Maybe just one person. Ratnalika, you can just read the translations.
I just read the translations.
Yeah, just translation.
O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born the son of a certain maidservant engaged in service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Although they were impartial by nature.
Oh,
sorry.
I'll just comment. So So basically, Narad Muni is saying his own example that in the last millennium, he was actually born as son of a maidservant. So even whatever birth, that's not so important. But the main thing, he was engaged in service of devotees, engaged in their personal service. So if you remember our second chapter, where we read the stages of bhakti, right? Particularly for Chakravarti Pad, he actually explained that in 9 into 14, right? So what was the first one? Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva. So both those things are actually explained here. That he actually started off by mercy of Vaishnavas and he served the Vaishnavas. And then basically that section of the second chapter that we read is actually here by his personal example. Narad Muni is going through all those stages. Right? So devotional service starts off by service of the devotee of the Lord. And Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says, service of the devotees of the Lord is actually greater and more valuable than service to the Lord. And a devotional service starts with service of Vaishnava. Hence, one should accept a guru and serve a guru. This purport is brilliant. Please read through it very nicely. Next 24.
Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sport, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required.
Right. So because of that Satam Kripa Mahat Seva, he actually received the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Right. So basically, this 23-24 is actually focusing on Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha, and also Chakravarti Pad actually says, like Prabhupada also makes this point. So Vedanta Vadis initiated the boy. So he got initiation. So Guru Padashra. So first four is already described in this way. And also the stress is given. Prabhupada makes a stress that it is not that because these qualities of Narad Muni, that's why he got the mercy. That understanding is not right. It is because of the mercy that he actually got these qualities. And then the process of initiation means, what is the main aspect of initiation? One becomes more and more disciplined in their spiritual life. Initiation means, because even before initiation, we chant 16 rounds. After initiation, we chant 16 rounds. But after initiation, we become more and more disciplined in our spiritual life. And Prabhupada points out, Narad Muni, he got all these qualities and he became more disciplined after receiving initiation. Okay, 25.
Once only by their permission I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time the very nature of the transcendentalists became attractive to me.
Right, so he actually accepted the remnants of their foodstuff and he took permission. Prabhupada in the purport say, we can take even without permission, no problem. So there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? Bhakta pada dhuli, ara bhakta pada jala, bhakta bhukta avashesha, teen mahabal. So these three aspects, the dust that is of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, the remnants of the foodstuffs, and water that wash the feet of the Vaishnavas. These two are mahabal. These are very powerful. So Narad Muni just once, Chakravarti Pastor said that there was some rice stuck on the side of the plate. And then he just took that with their permission and he ate it. Just once by having that Mahaprasad, Mahaprasad, right? Remnants of the Vaishnavas. Then what happened? Is that all his sins were eliminated. All obstacles, Prabhupada points out, that we have so many obstacles in a path of bhakti, they can be taken away by these three things, right? So all sins were eliminated, all obstacles, and then his mind was purified, and then he got attraction, Atma Ruchihi, he was attracted. Sorry. Okay, so basically this point, maybe I'll explain, I will do this in a little bit in a recording because this is really important to go through this and how that entire process actually goes. So maybe I'll stop here because this I want to spend a little time because it's so important to see that entire flow, that 14 stages through the life of Narad Muni and how powerful is that association of Vaishnava, that all his sins are vanquished, and how by the association of Vaishnava, we get the qualities of the Vaishnavas. And what does it mean to get the qualities of the Vaishnavas? We actually get taste for Harikatha. Our mind becomes purified, we get taste for Harikatha, and then we can hear the subject matters of Bhagavatam with great attention. All that just by service to Vaishnavas. Okay, so very important point. So I'll record this last part, right? And then the final part, the 32 through 40, is that part of Karma Yoga. It's easier. There's not so much to explain there. So this part I will spend a little time and I'll explain and how, going through. So we talked of 4 stages, right? Guru Padashaya, then how it goes through Bhajana Spruha, then Bhakti, then Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhav, Prem. Everything is actually explained in this section up to text 31. Okay, so we'll stop here. Is that okay? Any questions? Maybe any further realizations or any points that you would like to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I really like this point. Service of the devotees is more valuable than the service of the Lord. So one should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord, engage in his service, accept him as a spiritual master.
Wonderful. That's like the key point of our bhakti. That's the main thing. Service to Vaishnavas. That's more valuable than service to Krishna. Wonderful. Thank you. Anything else?
So once we start the bhakti marga, even if we fall down, Krishna will change in such a manner that we can bounce back and then come to the actual path.
Yes, yes. Krishna. So once you take a bhakti, then Krishna will take charge of us and bring us back home, back to God. Forcibly drag us. Now it's our choice whether you want to make that journey more difficult. If we turn away from Krishna, then it becomes more difficult. But Krishna will somehow bring us. But you keep on to the path of bhakti, then we get more and more enlightenment, inspiration. We can go very quickly back home, back to God. Thank you, Guru.
I like the point that by association of pure devotees, all the sins will go away, all the obstacles go away.
Yeah,
So
we all have so many obstacles in our spiritual life. And we say, how can I get over this obstacle? And the key is right here. Serve Vaishnavas and accept the remnants, like these 3 things. Accept the remnants of the foodstuff, dust of the lotus feet, water that's washed. Accept these things and serve Vaishnavas. You do this, all our obstacles in spiritual life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I like the point that all the processes culminate in devotional service. Benefit of all the processes can be obtained by glorifying Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, that's the conclusion of entire Srimad. And this theme will come again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything culminates in hearing about Krishna. That is the ultimate. Thank you. Anyone?
A pure devotee continuously remembers the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and does not forget him even for a moment, not even in exchange for all the opulence of the 3 worlds. I like this.
And when we actually serve these devotees, we will imbibe the same quality. Prabhupada in this purpose, I'll record it in a recording. He's actually making the point that we can become like Narad Muni. He's giving up that standard, saying you can become like Narad Muni. And you can experience that highest bliss. You can travel to Vaikuntha, go all this. You can preach. You can do everything. You can become like Narad Muni. Prabhupada is pointing out in this purpose. So amazing. We'll talk about that. Anything else? I saw one question in the chat. I'll just come to that probably in a minute. I'll just see if there are reflections first.
How one empowered incarnation is telling another incarnation to glorify Krishna. It was funny.
Yeah. One incarnation of Krishna is telling another incarnation of Krishna that you glorify. Anyone else? Okay, so please take time to read the purports. It's very beautiful. Like particularly in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is really, like, if you want to understand the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada, it is brought out so nicely, particularly like throughout Bhagavatam, but particularly first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhupada actually wrote when he was in Radha Damodar temple, right? So he was actually thinking of the entire world. What was the mission of Srila Prabhupada that he left Vrindavan? He's actually expressed these in his purports. So, sorry. So, So please read the purports carefully, and then write down points. This will really bring out, we'll really appreciate the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada in all these beautiful purports. Very, very powerful chapter. Okay. Anything else before we stop? Okay, so this week, please meditate on this entire pastime and also relationship between guru and disciple. How confidence, humility, and how the exchange was, and how the disciple expresses confidence in the spiritual master, how the spiritual master has responded back, and how planted confidence and so on. So thank you all so much for your association. I know some devotees are traveling, some are sick, but still you actually are here on the call. So I really appreciate your presence, taking the time to actually serve Srimad Bhagavatam. So thank you all so much for your kind association. Those who have questions can stay back if you like, but otherwise we'll end here. Okay. Thank you all so much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpa Kripa Sindhu Patita Nam Pavanekyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Have
Thank you so much.
a blissful week serving Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you
Beautiful
so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so Venkat Prabhu, are you still? Yeah. So yeah, Prabhu. So Prabhupada, like actually the verse itself is making the point that text 11, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplo, that is actually saying that even if there are some imperfections, still it is actually perfect. Even so, basically, like the previous verse is saying that if there are decorative words with nice poetry and all, still this. That's one was crying. So anyway, so even if there is some kind of flaw, still it is actually it is still perfect. So Prabhupada has made that point that even in the Bhagavatam, in case there is some imperfection in a sentence or a word, still one should not be bewildered by that, and one should still accept it, that this is glorification of Harikatha, this is the highest, and this is what we should actually study and meditate on. Okay, that's okay. Okay. Mantri Mati, question?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu, my question is, who is a pure devotee?
Who is a pure devotee?
Read.
Actually, this is a big question. Like in the sense of, like when Prabhupada in one interview he was asked, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? This was the earlier days, and he turned to one of his disciples and said, how many disciples we have in our ISKCON society? And Prabhupada made the point that when we talk of purity, Prabhupada says that it's just like a mango. If you are a raw mango, but if you're connected to the tree, then soon you'll become ripe. Right? So similarly, even though we have imperfection, but if we are connected to the Vaishnavas, to Guru Parampara, all the way to Krishna, if we are practicing the bhakti, then we are on the process to become pure devotees. So we should actually, particularly in the point of like service to Vaishnavas, we should not so much like,
yes,
in terms of service to Vaishnavas. Yes, certainly there are some, elevated, so many elevated Vaishnavas in ISKCON, and certainly when there's an opportunity, we serve them. But that mood of service should not be restricted just to the elevated Vaishnavas. Actually, we should consider everyone as Vaishnavas. We should serve everyone. Right? So that should be our understanding, that anyone who's even once chanted Hare Krishna, okay, I will serve him. Right? But what kind of service? What kind of service, then we can differentiate. One who is more newer to Krishna consciousness, and if we can help him, we serve him by helping him progress in his Krishna consciousness. Right? Those who are on the same level, then we serve them by associating with them, by doing Hari Kirtan with them, by doing Hari Katha with them. That is our service. Right? When they are advanced, then we actually worship them. We actually wash their feet. We hear their classes. We serve them in different ways. So everywhere the philosophy of service is there. Just based on the level of the devotees, we may distinguish what service we are doing to them, but service should always be there. Right? And one way actually it is also said that we cannot recognize who is a pure devotee because we are not drishta, like Bhakti Sansarya Thakur makes this point. How can we know who is a pure devotee? But at the same time, Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, in the 17th chapter, he makes some points of qualities of one in Bhav Bhakti. And he says that these points are something that will be visible. So you can use these points to actually identify a devotee. And the first one is Avyartha Kalatvam. Avyartha Kalatvam means you see a person and see how much he's actually engaged in service of Srila Prabhupada, in service of Krishna. You can take that as an indication that, oh, he does not waste any time. Whenever I see him, he's actually engaged in service. So that is an indication of how elevated he is. That is one. But others is also, he says, virakti. Like, okay, yes, he's doing service, but is he attached to material things? Does he go watch movies? Does he do this? How much he is attached to this material world? So that is the second thing. So some qualities that Rupa Goswami says that we can actually see, and we can use those qualities to identify who is an elevated Vaishnava. And then like the third one he actually says is humble. Vaishnava is humble. If he is like boastful of himself, then he may not be such an elevated Vaishnava. Again, we are not we are not true seers, but we use these symptoms to identify. Humility is one. Then other one is eagerness to serve, eagerness to speak Harikatha. That is the other one, right? And then one more thing is attachment to the holy places of pilgrimage. So he gives 9 different qualities, and he says this one can use to identify the elevated devotees. But our mood should be service to all the Vaishnavas. And then the definition of Uttam Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari, that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given 3 different definitions, at different times. So I think that, I think 17th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, if you want, I can share those 9 points. Those can be used as some kind of, I would say, measures to see who is elevated. But again, you have to keep that point in mind that we are not seers. So we are just using our experience to actually say, okay, this person is, I don't see him ever wasting time, always serving Krishna. And then he is not attached to this material world. He's not watch movies or waste time anything, watch cricket. He doesn't waste any time. Then he's so humble at heart. Yes, so whenever he gets a chance, he speaks about Krishna, like you see in Vaisheshekar Prabhu. Whenever you are with him, we sit in a car, immediately say, okay, 1 chapter of Bhagavatam. He'll open, start reading. You see the qualities, like how much they are eager to study Krishna, and they have attachment for the holy dham. They're so eager that, okay, here we are in the West, we are preaching Krishna consciousness, but I'm just waiting when I can go back to the holy dham and be there. So they have that. So these symptoms can be, and these measures can be used. But again, our service should be to everyone. Even the person who just walked in the temple, we serve him in different ways. That's okay. And that's a big question, Mataji, but I hope that's helps you.
I had been thinking about, I was thinking whether I should ask, but I had this question in my mind. Yeah, but thank you so much, Prabhu, for the explanation.
Okay, thank you all so much. So we'll end here. I don't see any more hands. So thank you all so much for your association. Arundhati Mataji, thank you for being there. Always nice to have you. And Varsha Mataji, Venkatru, Vijay Radhika Mataji, and Kanaka Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mantrin Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.